Sonos, the world's best networked audio packed into a small package. Check out the Sonos Beam with me today. We will cover the unboxing, setup, and how well I think the sound is. But most importantly, if the Sonos Beam lives up to the hype. When it comes to the Beam, it takes and elevates your home theater system. It packs 3 full channels, so left, right, and center, and can connect to your TV using a feature called ARC, Audio Return Channel. Now, you can use digital optical, but let me tell you what ARC is. Audio Return Channel utilizes the ARC HDMI port on your TV and the soundbar to sync and control your volume using one remote. It sends a signal from the TV to the soundbar rather than the other way around. In fact, the Sonos Beam doesn't even come with a remote because of this. Now, Sonos isn't necessarily just a sound company. They're mainly a networked audio solution. So when it comes to speakers, they're not just for quality, but for ease of use. Going back to the fact that Sonos is a networked audio solution, not a hi-fi speaker solution, you can control all of your Sonos devices direct from their app. Let's say you want zones throughout your house or business that play different music depending on where you are. Then Sonos is the solution. But when it comes to home theater and surround sound solutions, you can end up spending thousands to find a way to not only play movies, but to integrate that sound with the rest of your house. The real world application looks like speaker selectors, receivers, wires, all through the ceiling and the walls with a host of remotes that need to be navigated with every room you add. With the Beam, simply add the Sonos sub or add a pair of Sonos Ones as rear speakers. You can get up to a full 5.1 surround sound system using only Sonos speakers that will double as distributed audio throughout your home. The kicker, and the reason I chose the Beam first, is because there's 4 items that you can choose from to make this happen that Sonos produces. Now, I'm going to order them in most expensive to least expensive, and that's at the time of this video. So starting with their newest release for home theater is the Sonos ARC, and this is a product that's $799. The second most expensive being now the legacy Sonos Playbar. At $649, it wouldn't really make sense to add this as it's outdated, and unless you want just better sound, it doesn't really make sense with the ARC being out. Now, the next option is probably the most malleable option that you can get, and that's the Sonos Amp at a whopping $649.99. We can talk more on this later because I do have some good things to say about this particular product, which leaves us with the Sonos Beam. Full retail price is $399, and it can be found on very rare occasion to be as low as $359.99. The Beam is the lowest cost to enter the Sonos world, and there are many reasons why you should ditch your TV branded soundbar, and we will definitely be talking about those reasons. First, I would like to point out how easy this product was to set up. I expected to be in my living room for at least a half day to get this all integrated and working properly, but the reality is it really wasn't that difficult. Now, I did hit my fair share of snags, but I would say this took about 2 hours to set up properly, including waiting times for updates, and all while recording this video at the same time. Now, I did a couple of things that may help you along, although this isn't an install guide. I ditched the original HDMI cable because it isn't meant for audio performance. I used an AudioQuest Pearl cable that is made specifically for audio just like this application. I'll put more in the description below. I plugged the Beam to power and to HDMI ARC and made sure I used an Ethernet cable for initial setup to the Sonos app. On first thought, it would be a bit frustrating that you have to use the app in order to set up the Sonos, but with it being a networked audio device, it absolutely makes sense once you know more about the Sonos brand. So download the Sonos app, go through the prompts, and play the waiting game. You can then add your Sonos to the wireless network by changing the network connection within the Sonos app. Okay, enough about setup. How does it sound and what are we working with hardware-wise? With Class D amplification, the Sonos Beam is equipped with 4 full-range woofers and 1 tweeter for vocals. It has a passive radiator design, so you won't have to worry about any funky air noise coming from the soundbar like an old ported sub. That being said, from what I can hear, you do get a bit of a muffled sound because of that, but that doesn't mean it sounds bad. It actually sounds very good compared to most $300 to $400 soundbars, and I've listened to pretty much every Samsung and every LG branded soundbar out there. And the benefit here is I don't really need a big bulky subwoofer. I do get a good bass response. In fact, I would say the bass response is much better than other soundbars in its size or price category. For high range response, I am very pleased with the performance. No crackling or impact on other frequencies because it has a center tweeter. I did notice, however, that the initial factory settings, the mids tended to take over some of the other frequencies, whether it was low or high, and kind of melded them all together. So what I did is I went into the EQ setting and I took the bass level and I dropped it down to -3, and really that allowed all frequencies to pass over perfectly so I could get highs, mids, and lows without all of that interruption and crossover of frequencies. I do want to point out again that the low bass frequency and response is pretty solid for the size and price of this soundbar. I wouldn't go bumping my music at full blast all day, but at low to mid levels, it sounds pretty nice. So I want to start wrapping up by going to the beginning of this entire video, where Sonos isn't necessarily a sound solution, they're a networked audio solution. The reason the Beam is probably the best low-cost soundbar that you can get into is because it enters you into the world of networked and distributed audio. There's so many features packed in, like capabilities with Google Home and Amazon Alexa, being able to control it all from one application and having a zone all by itself. And this can all be done with ease. I promise you won't be able to find another soundbar that can do these things for you at the price of $399. Now, I may do a video that explains more about the Sonos networking capabilities, but I do want to touch on the Sonos amp. The amp is just like it sounds. It can power any passive speaker setup you want, up to 100 watts per channel, and any powered subwoofer using the LFE coaxial cable, which does pair into any Sonos zone or potentially can be used for a home theater setup. Now, why is that so important? It means you can integrate any current system that you have using Sonos equipment. Any speakers that you want. You have high-end speakers, you can integrate those. You have speakers that have been sitting in the closet for a really long time and you just need something to take them to the current generation, the current world. The Sonos amp is the perfect thing to do that. And let's talk about the next product that they offer. It's called the Port. The Port itself does the same thing without the amplification features. So if you already have an existing receiver with some hi-fi or non-hi-fi speakers set up in your room, you just slap the Port on there and it becomes a Sonos zone. What does this have to do with the Beam? Kind of going back to the beginning and bridging the gap, the Beam is one of 4 products that can be added to a home theater setup in order to join your home theater into your Sonos zones throughout your home or business. It is one of only 4, again, that can do that. And for $399, It is the lowest cost to enter into that realm of home theater surround sound with networked audio. So to wrap up, I want to say thanks for watching this video. I definitely could have gone on with a lot more on the Sonos products, and maybe I will. Maybe as I add throughout my home, I'll tell you guys more about the Sonos brand. I definitely have a lot of experience there, and I know networked and distributed audio is a huge topic. So if you want to hear more about this topic, put it in the comments below. If you have an experience, please reach out, put it in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Otherwise, you guys, I appreciate you as always for taking the time to watch this video. If you've made it this far, please like and definitely subscribe. Share this with all your friends so they can see what we're doing here. And as always, I will catch you in the next video.